Hey guys, it's Lena, and it's about 9:30 at night. Not sure if anybody's around or available, but I just thought I'd hop on, have a little chat, see who's available. Howdy, hello, hi friends. I am so happy to see you. So, I am going to talk a little bit today about, hey Maria, hello, hi Nadine. I am so glad you're here. And Joanna, hello. Thank you, Maria, for inviting your followers. I'm going to talk a little bit about what has been hard for us this year, for me particularly, and some of what I've found that was really helpful and really encouraging. Hey, Amanda. So, I don't know. Yeah, we'll just chat, right? Hi, guys. Let me flip the camera around. While I'm flipping it around, just what are you guys up to? What's new today? How are you doing? Hey, working on music stuff. One more day of homeschool, and then you're done. Getting close to the end. Yeah, we are not pre-K stuff. Today's been hard and then awesome, and now wrapping up a blog post. Yay! Blog posts are always happy news. Hey Jenny, did you get your book today? I hope it came. A gum graft this morning. Oh no, that does not sound fun. Then a break and never done, right? I know, never done. Yep, even in the big scheme of things, never done, right? Okay, hi everybody. Okay, good, I'll have to check. I've been busy. We had a busy day today. We have our pastor's wife and her two kids come over on Tuesday afternoons, and they do Latin with us. And today was our last day, so we kind of had a long. They came over and had lunch with us, and at some point in the afternoon, we did our Latin, and then they stayed for dinner. And so anyway, we had a good friend day, and busy and not on electronics a whole lot, which was probably good for us. Good. Oh, are you taking them out for tea time? Oh, how fun. Do you have like a special tea shop near you or something? That sounds really neat, however you work it. So, you know, there's a which Latin. Okay, so I've been using Latin for Children, which is the Classical Academic Press. Yay, a surprise. That's fun too. Classical Academic Press Latin series. So I'm Latin, boy, I could do a whole nother scope on that. My degree is in Latin, so it's something that I love to teach. And I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts about that, but yeah, maybe I'll scope about Latin another time. Anyway, so a little bit of background about me. Well, I don't even think I introduced myself on this scope because I just feel like I'm already talking to friends. So I guess I should officially introduce myself, especially for replay viewers who don't know who I am. My name is Lena Sutherland, and I'm a homeschool mama of 7. 4 of them are school age this year, and 3 are younger. And I blog over at Homeschooling Without Training Wheels, which is hswotrainingwheels.com. And there actually is a giveaway going on this week about this book, including this book, Teaching from Rest, and then a bunch of other things that go with it, like some companion materials, some digital files of like a journal, the audiobook, and then also a membership to Sarah Mackenzie's Read Aloud Revival, which is sort of like I'm really excited about this one. And I'm going to tell you in a minute how this giveaway kind of came about, because it was really, really wonderful and kind of, I don't know, it was just a huge boost. But anyway, so yay. So a little bit of background. About 2 years ago, almost exactly, it was May of 2014, and my 6th child, Hazel, was, she had just turned 1 in February, and her delivery had been a little bit difficult, and my midwife felt like my body needed some rest, some physical rest after that, and to give myself a break before any other children. And Hazel, I know, we love that name too. That was my husband's idea. Anyway, so I had, we had taken some time, and I mean, some time, which, the babies tended to come kind of fast and close. So I know that thinking about having a baby who's a year and 3 months doesn't really seem like a break. But anyway, for us, we had been intentional about making a space there. And so when May came, it does make it hard. It really does make it hard. And I don't think that I felt it when I was younger and when I was starting out. I don't think I felt it as much, and I think, I don't think I really appreciated what my body was doing to carry all those babies and to nurse them and all the stuff that comes even after the nursing is done. Anyway, so, we had waited, we had, made a positive effort to give my body a break there. But around that time, my husband's job was really stressful. And, we were just both thinking like, first trimester for me is kind of like, I don't have nausea, but I just have extreme exhaustion. And so I'm kind of laid out flat for, the first 12 to 16 weeks. And we just thought, his job is really stressful. He's really busy at work. I don't know, is this really the time even to embark on another, pregnancy? And I I had this project coming up that I was scheduled to, my husband was going to take a week off of work so I could get some painting done. And it was something that I had been wanting to do for a long time, and I just couldn't find a way to fit it in between, nap times and after bedtime and on the weekends and all that. So we had this scheduled, and I realized that basically the way that things were going, the week that he was scheduled to take off, I was pretty much going to be PMSing that week, which for me means two things. One, not a lot of energy. And two, I cannot see the bright side of anything. So, doing a DIY project when, everything seems like a miserable failure, I don't know, it just seemed like it was going to be a really bad combination. And so I was just praying, Lord, somehow, could I please just have energy for that week? Please, make it work somehow. This was the only week he could take off. It was in between, projects. It wasn't like we could just shift it or something. Yeah, right. So I knew, so when you paint, nothing comes out perfect, right? And some weeks of the month I could paint and be like, it's good enough. No one will ever notice, right? But PMS week would not be the week to try to do something and just have a positive attitude and be fine with how it turned out. Anyway, just praying that this would really go well and that I would somehow be able to make good use of this week. Well, it was fantastic. It went beautifully. That room is my favorite room in the house. I added this faux board and batten. It's our foyer, our entranceway. Added this faux board and batten to the bottom half of the wall. It's all painted white. The top half of the wall is this kind of burgundy color, rust burgundy color. Anyway, I had tons of energy. I would stay up till 1 and then wake up, early in the morning. Anyway, it was just this banner week. And then, the weekend after that was our homeschool convention, and I was going with my mom and my sister-in-law to stay in a hotel, and we were going to have this weekend away, and I was just exhausted. And of course I thought, oh, well, I just kind of pushed myself to the limit with this project, which got all done, and it was so satisfying, but I didn't really make much of convention. I was so exhausted. And so then, when I got home from convention, I found out that, well, there was a reason why things didn't go exactly as I thought they were going to go in my cycle, and it turned out that we were expecting again, right? So, and I wasn't really necessarily upset about that. I mean, we kind of had been on the fence, and in a sense I thought, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't have to, make that decision anymore, or, right now I can put that decision off for a little while. It didn't ever go away. So I was not just physically exhausted for the whole pregnancy, but it was like postpartum depression, but during the pregnancy. And I had experienced postpartum depression after my fifth baby, my son Henry, but it was kind of short in duration. I mean, it probably lasted all total about 3 months. And when my cycle came back, then the depression just kind of evaporated. So I knew, pretty clearly that it was hormonal related. But anyway, so for my seventh pregnancy for Joseph, the whole pregnancy was low and hard and just really, really a struggle. And one of the things that was so discouraging, so, with Henry, it probably took me the first half of it to figure out what was going on. Because when you have a baby, you just, you're tired and you're thinking like, with prepartum, okay, yeah. So I'm sure, it's not uncommon. But it just didn't occur to me what was going on because like it was during the pregnancy. I don't know. And sometimes when you have other reasons why you expect to be tired, like you have a tiny baby or you're pregnant, like you just kind of think, oh, it's just because I'm tired. And you don't really kind of clue in, to exactly what's going on. Hey, Becky. So, so the pregnancy was hard. And then, when he was born, so he was born February a year ago. It just didn't really go away. And, I don't know, people would say, like, is this harder than with Henry? Is that, how does it compare? And, the thing is, I don't know. It's so difficult to compare one experience to another experience because you really can't tell objectively, like there's nothing to measure. And you also don't know, like, have I grown some since then? Like maybe this is just as hard or harder, but I'm handling it better. I don't really know. But anyway, it was a very, very difficult postpartum. So he was born in February of 2015. And then, so that, early postpartum was like, okay, well, I have a tiny baby. We're finishing up this school year. We got done with that. The summer was bearable. We just kind of did light, fun schoolwork. We learned to play the recorder. We did some science stuff. Just, it felt fun. It felt enjoyable. But I just was really, 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 really not looking forward to getting back into full swing in September. Like, I was used to kind of in June being like, oh man, I don't want to do this again. And then, 2-3 weeks later, I'm all psyched and I'm planning the next school year and looking forward to that. Was not happening. I just did not want to get back to it. Just, thinking about starting back to school, I was just dreading it. I just could not get up the, enthusiasm for it. My fourth child was starting as a kindergartner this year. And so, having a person who's learning how to read, that's a big job. That was a big, it wasn't just like 4 people who needed schooling, but my oldest is not quite 11. So I have like, all elementary people, all people who still definitely need lots and lots of mommy's input. And I just kind of felt underwater about a lot of things. So round about August, I ran into good friends of ours at church had their son and daughter-in-law in town for the weekend. And so I ran into the daughter-in-law at church whom I know, and we had a good conversation and just kind of, how it can happen with people who, haven't seen each other for a long time, but they meet again and just kind of fall into really good conversation. And we were sharing, some of the struggles about just, mommying, homeschooling, that kind of thing. And she said, oh, you really should read Teaching from Rest. It had a huge impact on my school year. And, the one thing that I remember her saying, I'm sure she said more, but in retrospect, for some reason, the one thing that I took away was she said something about, oh, she has some great ideas for how to do morning time. Well, I had this fear, like, I don't want to hear one more person's ideas about morning time. Like, I'm already feeling so, like, behind the curve, overwhelmed. I feel like I'm not doing all the things that I thought I should be doing, or that I thought great homeschooling moms did, or that, make homeschooling like awesome and enriching. And I'm like, right, it was just going to be one more thing to do, that I didn't really want to hear about. And the other thing was, that, morning time, like in my mind, there's just this lovely vision of like, we're going to read these great books and we're going to have these great discussions. And, if I just had my oldest 3 or 4, that probably could happen. But like trying to do that and managing, preschoolers and a nursing baby and all that, it was just kind of chaotic. And I just kind of, after a while of morning time, I just sort of felt like everything was wrapped in tinfoil and every movement was like just loud and rattling, and just, it was just kind of like, okay, everyone just stop touching me and go away and be quiet. And I'm going to go, I'm going to like go lock myself in the bathroom for a little while because I'm sort of sensory overloaded here. So the idea of, other homeschooler, because of course, I'm sure all other homeschoolers, toddlers just sit quietly and have intellectual discussions about the great books that their families are reading aloud. Anyway, so all that to say, that was kind of my first exposure to Teaching from Rest. She said, you really should read this. It was very helpful, but I somehow took away that it was going to be like about how to do a morning time routine. And it does talk some about that, but that's definitely not the biggest thing that it's about. Well, okay, so carry on a few more weeks, and a friend of mine, another friend, said, and I did, the friend who recommended Teaching from Rest, I actually bought it when she recommended it, but I didn't read it. Like I had it in my possession, but I didn't want to read it. And so then my birthday came in November, and another friend who didn't know anything about this conversation gave me a copy of Teaching from Rest, so my second copy, and she said, I loved this book. It was so encouraging, and she said in her note, it reminded me of you because it made me think of all the things that you're already doing in your homeschool. And I think, that was what finally convinced me to read it, because I thought, oh, well, if this is a book about what my homeschool is already like, then maybe it's not so scary. Maybe I can handle it. And I'm so thankful that I read it. I know. And I just don't know, how she knew to say that. Right. I know. And so I'm really, really, really glad that I read it. And I'm just a little bit about the part that was really the best, happiest kick in the pants to me. But there's kind of 3 sections in the book. So the first section, she talks about whose well done are you working for? And basically the idea is just, like, who are you trying to please? Who are you exactly, like, what, where are these standards coming from? Whose approval are you measuring yourself by? That kind of thing. So not nutsy boltsy, very, philosophical, like, why are you doing this kind of stuff? And then the second part is called Curriculum is Not Something You Buy. The happiest kick in the pants, right? Right, because sometimes you get that kick in the pants and it jolts you, but then you're like, that was awesome. I really needed that. And I feel really happy that somebody kind of shook me out of that fog that I was in. And so the second part talks about just, all of these kind of like, wait a minute, why do you think you have to do it this way? Like, why do you think that the subjects you want to teach, you have to teach all of them every day? Or even all of them the whole year long? So, for example, one thing is that she plans her school year in 6-week chunks. So she'll plan for 6 weeks. And they do for 6 weeks. They have some things that they're always doing, like I think, Bible and math and Latin or something like that. And every day they do some reading or writing or whatever. But then she'll mix in other studies that they're doing. And she doesn't feel like she has to figure out what they're doing for the whole year just for 6 weeks. And then they take a 1-week break where she regroups and schedules and all that. And she also talks about looping. So, if you have all these great things you'd like to read to your kids, like I did, there are all these things I want to include in our morning time. There's no way my little people can sit still for that long. Like, they will be, lunatics, and so will I if I try to like force all this stuff on them. And so she says, rather than, because what my, tendency would be to say like, okay, well, this will be Monday stuff and this will be Tuesday stuff and this will be, but that never works. And so then by Thursday, are you like just going to give up on the week and forget about it? Or are you trying to cram in Tuesdays and Wednesday stuff along with Thursday stuff, or, Tuesday stuff with Thursday stuff and Wednesday stuff with Friday stuff, or whatever, or just like start next Monday with Friday stuff. And so she said, just, instead of assigning things to a day of the week, just make a list. Like, we want to do a famous artist study. We want to have a famous composer. We want to read a story from this, book of mythology, and we want to, something else. And so every time you come to that, segment of your schedule where you're going to read aloud, you just pick the next thing and you do a little bit of that. And if you finish it, you can start on the next one. Sure. Thank you. Yes, that's a big part of the learning curve too. So anyway, just some practical tips for, making this grand homeschooling experiment work in real life. And then the last part of the book is, this is the part that I think I really needed the most. It's called Be Who You Are. And it's just, it's kind of basic. And I'm sure that other moms would read this and be like, yeah, that's sort of obvious. That's sort of common sense, take care of yourself. I saw a graphic on Facebook or Instagram the other day that said something about you can't pour out of an empty cup. Like, you can't continue to pour into your children if you have nothing to give. So, here are some of my favorite quotes from this section. She said, "A few years into homeschooling, one thing is abundantly clear to me. A peaceful and happy mother is the real key to successful homeschooling." She says, "It never occurred to me during all that reading and pondering that I might just burn out if I didn't consider my own personality and my own teaching style as well." She says, yes, it's important to learn about learning styles and your children's learning styles, but her teaching style mattered too. If I'm not thriving as a homeschool mother, my students are going to suffer for it. We must look ourselves squarely in the eye and decide what is true about how we operate best, and then base our homeschools on those truths, playing to our strengths and providing for our weaknesses. The result, the children benefit tremendously, regardless of their unique learning style. And then later she said, just be yourself. Embrace who you are. You are made in the image and likeness of God, and you have exactly what you need to be the mother that He wants you to be. And I wrote in one of my blog posts about how before then, I think I had operated as though the steps were like, number 1, figure out what a good mother does. Number 2, do it. Number 3, suck it up and don't complain. Like, there's just some standard out there that you figure out what it is, and then you meet it, and then you it doesn't matter if it's hard, you just do that anyway because it's good for your kids. And that was like unhealthy for regular life, but I think it took kind of coming to a real low place to realize this isn't working. And so, I would never like to go through that again and would never wish it on anyone, but for some reason it took kind of that, just complete lack of energy and strength to sort of have to face the reality that I really wasn't in the habit of taking my own needs or my own personality or style or anything into consideration. So, thankfully, right about the same time I finally read Teaching from Rest, in the Read Aloud Revival membership group, Sarah offered a class called Focus and Align. And it was really like this kind of homeschool vision boot camp where, it was like 2 Monday nights in a row. And, it was a webinar and you could chat, but there was also like a little workbook to do to go along with it. And it was just kind of about peeling back and seeing why, what are your goals for your homeschool? Why are you doing what you're doing? And kind of weeding out all this stuff, because how like things just kind of crop up over time. You have this basic schedule that's manageable, and then you start saying, oh, but we really should study famous artists, and oh, I've always wanted to do this project with the kids, and we really should be reading more of this type of literature, and and before you know it, it's just completely unwieldy. So anyway, that class was extremely helpful, and she does all of these great live author events, and she does. There was recently a class with Ken Ludwig about Shakespeare and beginning with Shakespeare. Anyway, it's just been phenomenal. So when I started the blog and I knew I wanted to do a giveaway, I just assumed that the way one does a giveaway is that one spends one's own money to purchase things to give to, your blog readers as kind of a celebration of the beginning of your blog. And so that's what I did the first week. I gave away the Poetry Tea Time Companion last week, actually, to Jenny White, who was on this scope a little while ago. She happened to be the winner. But so then I wanted to give a copy of Teaching from Rest and a membership to the RAR to somebody this week, just assuming that I would, purchase those items on behalf of whomever was the winner. And I contacted, I just used the contact form on the Read Aloud Revival to contact them to make sure that it wasn't like a logistical headache that I was offering to pay for someone else's subscription to the RAR, and what if the person already was a member. And so I was just completely thrilled to find an email from Courtney Garrison last week saying that Sarah had offered a signed copy of the book and a month of membership. And so I figured I'd take that money and put it towards, offering some of those digital goodies to go along with it. And when I contacted Classical Academic Press about that, then they offered to throw in like a copy of the audio companion and the journal, and then 3 copies of the audiobook. So it just was super, super, super encouraging. I mean, I know it wasn't because they all thought that this would be like prime marketing space. Like, this blog is brand new, and, there's maybe 24 people who read it. So it was such a blessing. It was so encouraging. And, I started blogging on an old site back in January, and by about, February or so, my son turned 1 in February, and my husband and I decided that I just needed to wean him, because either weaning would fix the hormonal imbalance, or at least the weaning would eliminate one kind of factor and help us to get a little closer to figuring out what was going on. And it was really hard to do that. And of course, as a mommy, you have mommy doubt and mommy guilt about things like that anyway. But layer on top of that the hormones I was already dealing with, and then the hormones of weaning. And so for 2 weeks, I thought, that I was just a terrible mommy. And I would lay in bed awake at night crying. The baby would be sound asleep. I'd be crying, asking my husband if he thought I should go get the baby and nurse him, and he's looking at me like, no, remember we talked about this, we had good reasons. And I'm really glad that he helped me to, proceed through that. The baby was fine. He was drinking milk with no trouble. He wasn't sad. He wasn't hurting. He wasn't upset about it at all. And sure enough, as soon as he was fully weaned, and as soon as we got through those 2 rough weeks, it was like the clouds parted, the sun came out, I am myself again. It's the strangest thing. I don't know why. I don't know if this pregnancy and this postpartum were just, I don't know. Maybe my body just didn't have a whole lot left to offer. Maybe I'm not sure why. Yeah, I know. I'm so thankful. So, anyway, I was very thankful about that. But it certainly led to a lot of interesting other conversations about the future and that sort of thing. So anyway, all that to say, I just wanted a chance to share that story, because I feel like the whole Teaching from Rest thing, I mean, it is a great book. And, I've had so many people saying, what a great giveaway. This will draw a lot of traffic to your blog. And I mean, I'm excited about that, but it's really been a whole lot more than that for me. I mean, this has been such a huge part of this year. And has been such a blessing for me that I really, I don't know, it just kind of feels like this beautiful kind of full circle, being able to give this away on the blog. And even as I was importing old posts, yes, they do. You're right. Absolutely, Maria. even as I was importing old posts to the new blog, I was just thinking like, wow, some of these posts are so sad. I mean, I think they're still good. I think they're still, um, you know, worthwhile to read and to think about, but they almost feel like they were written by a different person. So it's just very interesting to see that as I transition. So anyway, thanks you guys for listening and for encouraging and for joining in tonight. And it's been really fun to hop on here in the evening because usually when I scope or Facebook Live, I'm certain that at any moment a child is going to come busting into the bathroom and interrupt me, but not today. Oh, thanks, Maria. This group, I mean, I don't know, this Periscope group has been the coolest. It's so funny. Like, it's social media, I know, but it's just really, it's a different thing. I don't know if it's like being able to see people on live video or what it is, but anyway, it's just been the neatest community ever. So I'm really glad, really thankful for it. And thanks, guys, for listening. Hope you have a lovely evening.